Hello, welcome to another Touchy Gooners podcast. It's your boy Dan Koogs on hosting duty today. It's a big roster. Today you've got five man, as you can see, ready and waiting to get stuck into the latest Arsenal news and action. I think Shabs will be joining us very shortly as well. So we're gonna have a full cast here today to sort of give us the lowdown. Um, on all things Arsenal, as I said, before we get into it, some early housekeeping. Thanks everyone for tuning in. I know people are ready to hear us rant and rave and rant. But make sure you drop likes on the video. Make sure you drop some comments. If you have any questions, at us on Twitter at TouchyGooners, or leave a comment in the podcast. We'll do our best for we'll do our best to get answers out to all of those questions, get responses in. But you know, guys, I know there's a lot of news going on. We got Seun in the studio, got Shabs, got German, got Dr. Leroy, and then special guest this week, Big Yemz. He said he's got a few things that he wanted to get off his chest. So we'll give him that. We'll give him that chance. We'll give him that platform. But before we get into all the transfers and stuff, there is a match that we need to debrief. Unfortunately, it wasn't a very exciting match. It was just a boring 0-0 at home to Burnley. Quite a poor result, if I do say so myself. But I don't know who wants to go first, but someone just talk me through this match. What went wrong? Because for me, there was a lot of poor performances out there on the pitch on Sunday, and I think that's endemic of our entire month, bar the Man City game. I think it's been a lackluster month. We've not scored any goals since that Man City match. Barely looked like scoring in any of the games that we've played this month, and it's quite a dire month for us in terms of results and performances. No, Sharon, I'll start with you. Yeah, give me the lowdown.
Yeah, it's been a dreadful month, man. January's not been good to us. It's like normally November's usually our trash month, but it seems to have fast forwarded like 2 months later to Jan. And it's a shame because we had a really good December, loads of good performances. Felt like we were hitting the right tune at the right time. But yeah, it's been bad. Out of two competitions. Lost our 2 league games. Well, sorry, beg your pardon. Lost one, drew one. So yeah, it's not been great, man. I think obviously there have been some mitigating factors. The fact we've had some players at AFCON, had some injuries, had some suspensions. Some players don't look fit or they look a bit tired, because they've been relied on quite a bit. I felt like they tried, obviously, on Thursday against Liverpool. We had a bit of we put out the best squad we could on the day, but it was visibly evident that Tomiyasu wasn't fit, Emil Smith-Rowe wasn't fit, and we deserved to go out because we barely created anything against Liverpool, and that they were the better team. So, and that looked to carry itself through again on Sunday. We just didn't look fresh. Again, obviously Tomiyasu in the end didn't make it because he aggravated what he had on Thursday. So we brought in Holding, moved Ben White to right back, which obviously I can understand to an extent, but yeah, I don't think it was great. And obviously we kept with the same midfield 3. It took a while to get going. And then, yeah, I just overall, it felt stale, man. There was a lot of flat performances. Martinelli and Saka both looked a bit jaded initially, even though they had some successes during the game. I felt it was flat mostly, but in the second half, we started to get to grips. ESR really started to get involved. And that's where, we started to have a bit of an impact, when ESR started picking up the ball and running. So it was quite weird when Arteta decided to make the sub that he did. I thought that was a little bit odd. Maybe he's still obviously struggling with injury, but you could have thought maybe he could have just played the rest of the game, considering we don't have a game for pretty much 3 weeks. So he could have gone on to complete the game. But yeah, it was frustrating, man. And I think what frustrated me and has been, a factor of Arteta's tenure is that just the in-game management. Cool. Like, even if you thought you wanted to take off ESR and you wanted to bring on Eddie wasn't up top. It looked like Eddie was replicating the same role that ESR was. So at least you could say, all right, cool, drop Lacazette deeper into the 10, put ESR up top, have Sambi and Erdegaard together, give Saka some help for crying out loud, man. Do you know what I mean? Like, obviously, the way we set up is to get him in 1v1 situations with fullbacks, but he ends up getting now double, triple teamed. Could have tried to get my man a bit of an overlap, brought on Chambers. So he just didn't really try much, I thought, man. And that was what was really upsetting for me on the day. Like, overall, like, you got to remember, obviously, we were missing guys, but I'm sorry. And maybe even, like, it wasn't best to expect the best performance based on who we were missing and guys who weren't fit. But it's Burnley at home, man. It's the bottom place team. I just don't think we did enough. So, yeah, it was disappointing. Really poor, and we're going to need to massively improve after this break.
Yeah. So really good points there, man, Seun. And I think, you know, the one that sort of really resonates with me is that ESR substitution. Because I did feel that before we made that substitution, we were starting to cook. We were starting to cook a little bit, you know, and I thought that, you know, the time he made it was 77 minutes or something, you know, and you know that. I think in recent weeks, when we have needed a goal or when we've needed someone to do probably a little bit of inspiration and step up, I think Smith Rowe has probably been the only one to actually do that. I know Saka and Martinelli have been playing well of late, but in terms of, you know, sort of game-changing moments, and sort of match-winning moments, I think of all of our youngsters, Smith Rowe has probably been the most likely this season. I think the Newcastle game where Martinelli came off the bench and scored as a substitute, I think that's probably the one time where he's maybe scored the opener per se, if you get what I mean, right? So, you know, I think if you know you're looking to make a sub, Smith Rowe for Nketiah definitely wouldn't have been the one that I chose. And I think, you know, after seeing that chance go missing, I would have probably hooked Lacazette for missing that full stop. Because this guy, we know ever since Wenger signed him, he ain't been able to finish 90 minutes. We're asking him to play a lot of football that he probably physically can't handle. So, you know, and I think in terms of his game management, Arteta leaves a lot to desire. So, Yemi, first time on the pod, I want to hear your thoughts about that Burnley game. You know, and just where do you think the manager could have made some you know improvements to how that result ended?
Do you know what? Before I even start, I need to apologize to Ant and Leroy because they told me about this Lacazette, and I did not listen. Hey, listen, when we signed him, I thought, finally a gunman, 37 goals, he's gonna come, he's gonna do rare. So 12 games in, I must have been like, he's not the one. I said, you man are chatting shit. I said, Lacazette, that's my guy. I'll put 100 bags in that stock. And man, it looks... Guys are fucking donkey, man.
What did you accept? You're broke now. The stock is gone.
Hey, listen.
That investment was like Dogecoin, yeah? Is that what you're telling me?
Yo, I can't believe it. He's fucking shocking. Do you know what? Before, it was he was missing chances, but he was getting there. He was getting shots off, all of that. Now he can't even get there. It's so bad. So like, I think our football has regressed a bit because all that Lacazette dropping in deep and then finding the space for Martinelli and Saka, a team with a low block, they didn't follow him into the midfield. So the centre backs literally just sat off. And what pissed me off the most is Tini kept on getting down the line and crossing it in, thinking they're gonna fucking win a header against, was it me and Tawaski in the fucking centre back? That was never gonna happen. So that was shocking in the first half. We didn't really create much. It was just lumping it, and then on the right hand side, because Tomiyasu wasn't there, Ben White didn't really. The one time you don't overlap, I think we created a little chance from there. Apart from that, there was literally no overlap for Saka. Every time he had a beat of Walker Peters, beats him, tries to pull in the box. There's no one there. There's literally three Burnley centre backs. It was just a fucking shit show from the beginning to the end. Lokanga, he's not the one. He's just a rebound. It's just like learning. He just keeps the ball. He passes it backwards, passes it sideways. He can't seem to really pass through the lines. I don't know if he's still learning it or he's going to get better at it. But from what I've seen, he can't pass through the lines the way.
He's scared, for example,
man. He's
scared.
Say that again?
He's scared.
Maybe that's it because I can't believe it. I thought, he's gonna come in. I thought he's gonna be a bit more in the party mode, and he's gonna develop as he gets. But just that basic understanding of passing the ball through the lines, again, the ball through the lines, he just can't do it. He plays very safe. He goes back to the centre backs, or he gets it out wide to the full backs, and that's literally about it. The only person in midfield that was literally trying to get the ball, trying to make something happen, was Odegaard. And that was the exact same thing against Liverpool. He was the only person that was actually doing something, and it was just bad. Then the sub, I think I switched it off when it took off Smith Rowe. I couldn't believe it. Literally, he just beat his man with pace, and then Lacazette misses an open goal. I don't know how he fucking done that. Then you take him off. It doesn't make any fucking sense. And who do you bring on? Eddie. Oh God, it just gets worse. It brings on Eddie. What's Eddie gonna fucking do? It's just not gonna do anything. And I think I do feel a little bit sorry for him, because in the past we've had game changers from the bench. So you mentioned Smith Rowe. He would come off the bench, maybe get the second goal or get the killer, or Martinelli. Right now we don't have anyone. If Saka and Martinelli are tired, who's coming off the bench? No one, because Smith Rowe's playing. We don't have no centre mids. We've got no, I don't like to say his name, but Pepe. Like, for all of his shitness, he got, what was it, 16, 17 goals and assists last year. I think it was our second top goal scorer. So even him coming off the bench does something different. They're still beefing Aubameyang. So you've got no one apart from the first 11. That's it. And now we're just here. Where we're at. I don't even think we're going to beat Wolves away. I don't think we're going to beat them. So yeah, my optimism has gone from really high to I'm just hoping we get Europe. That's it. I don't even think top four is going to happen now. I can't lie. And they still haven't bought no one in the transfer window. So yeah, man, it hurt my feelings. But the Lacazette one, that guy has to go, man. This year, I don't want to see no new contracts, no new nothing. Fam, they could terminate his contract in January. I can give a shit. I can give a shit. The guy is fucking awful, man.
Yeah, and I think that was very comprehensive, Yemi, man. And I think you made some good points. I think the Lacazette issue is probably the biggest issue that we're facing right now.
Yeah,
obviously,
man.
we're in the transfer window, and we know the club wanted to sort of go big on a striker, etc. And I was reading today from Orbinho on Twitter that Harry Kane has had more shots in January, I think with 17, than Lacazette has had all season with 15. Yeah, and you can't go anywhere with a striker that's having 3 shots a month.
That's crazy.
We're we're 5 months into the season, yeah, and this guy's having 3 shots per month. Yeah, that's crazy.
That's
mental. It's absolutely crazy. No, six months into the season. Sorry, it's absolutely crazy. So in this match, when he actually finally does get into the goal scoring opportunity, because he doesn't get into many of them, you need him to step up. And I do think that he is involved in play a little bit. Like the times in the first half when we did anything, it's when he dropped in. There was a little bit of combinations, and then players were able to run off him, this, that, and the other. But I think that is a major issue, and we're going to talk on striker when it comes to transfers in a little bit. There's a lot of questions from the listeners as well. But like when we're talking about this Lacazette guy, Shabs. So do you think that this link up play and this thing that he's offering us apparently outside of goal scoring, do you think it's slightly overstated, or do you think that what he's given to the team is valuable enough to make up for his lack of goal scoring?
You're a striker, you need to score goals. That just the bottom line. You're a striker in the side like Arsenal. Yeah, if your game is prided on link up play and all of this, what you give off the ball, you could do everything but score. You just don't belong at Arsenal Football Club. Let's keep it real. And we've got a rich history of strikers. Yeah, even in some of our meatiest times, we've always had a bagsman up front. So I don't understand what Lacazette is doing. I don't understand how we could continue to just justify him being in the side when we're saying, yeah, he brings us so much more. I actually don't care. I need you to be on job, and I need you to put chances away, and I need you to get shots on target. The shots on target thing is crazy. It's crazy. Like
Shabs.
No,
it's not shots. It's not shots. It's just shots, bro. Not on target. That's shots.
Even just getting your shots off, like it's outrageous. And this is where it is like this is not new. We've seen this time and again. We've seen this season on end. It's like the guy is like many people have spoken on it, and I don't want to kind of reiterate what they've said any more than what has already been said. Like, and we heard Ant spitting gospel, saying there was one time where it just pissed him off because Laka was on the edge of our own box. I can't remember what game it was a couple of weeks ago now. Like, he's just never in the places where you need him to be, where he's threatening enough. So he's so easy to manage and deal with. If you're a centre back, like you're like, yeah, you're up against Lacazette, it's just joy all day. And then I need something different, man. I need to see something different. I respect, do you know what? I respect Lacazette because he does work. You can see that this is a guy out there who is trying. Like, he is doing his absolute best.
Okay.
No, he's doing his absolute best. And
fuck his best, man. Nah, listen, I've had enough of him. I've had enough of him.
No,
do you know how many games?
Hear my point. No, but hear my point.
Go on.
Because your point is making it sound as though I'm defending him. I'm not defending him.
Joyce, I've been where you've been.
Not in argument.
No, Joyce. I've been where you've been. I've done what you're doing. I've done it. Trust me, bro. I've done it. I've said, yeah, man. You have to give man something because, like, he tries, he does this, he links up. Believe me, I've been.
That's fine.
Yeah,
that's fine. But I'm not.
Go on.
Excuse me. I'm not in a place where I'm saying, yeah, boom, I'm all right with this. It's not good enough. Like, it's not good enough. So that's it. We need something different. And there's a couple of days left, you know. I need to see a solution before this window ends. Like, I think to come out of this window without a solution will be just unspeakable, really.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie to you. It's I think it's a bigger indictment that Laka is he's a trier. Do you know what I mean? Like, this is a guy who, for me, I think he gives 100% every single game. Yeah, 100%. I really think he does. Do you know what I mean? And I think it's a bigger indictment.
It's 55 minutes, 60 minutes.
That's
it.
That I think his 100%, like, you know, his 100% is way below the level. That's the thing, right? So, like, when we praise Lacazette when he gives us, you know, when he presses. You get what I mean? Yeah. And when he wins fouls, when he wins tackles, we never praise him for, you know, dumping the centre backs and slapping on top bins. Do you get what I mean? Like, when we praise Lacazette, it's for trying hard. You get what I mean? And that's like, if that's your number 9 that you signed for £56 million, that's crazy talk. You know, like, one of them. Like, we're talking about fucking Lee Cattermole here. Do you get what I'm saying? That's what it sounds like.
Boy,
and this is yeah. Go on, Dan.
No, on Lacazette, just my thoughts on Lacazette is like, this guy is what, 30, right? He came for big money to Arsenal. He's in his last contract, and his last year of his contract. He's playing for a new contract at Arsenal, and this is how he's playing. He does not have the capacity, man. He doesn't. He just doesn't. He's trying to get a new contract, deep it, and he's got 3 goals in the league.
Wait, do you reckon? Yeah, no, I'm gonna say something.
I say he doesn't have the capacity.
He doesn't have the capacity. He doesn't have the capacity.
Do you think Arteta tells man, hey, don't worry about the goals, yeah? Just do the link up.
No.
Why is he not shooting? Because I don't get it.
Because he's breathing heavy like a dog every game. Arteta, the thing is, yeah, what I don't like here is how people do this thing where they're like, it's so important for the striker to facilitate and link. Brother, strikers have been doing that for time. Like, I don't understand strikers, but they've also been clapping at the same time. Your job is to do everything, bro. Like, listen, honestly, and if you can't do I'd rather you just be a clapper, to be fair, because at the end of the day, this guy here, yeah, is costing us 52 million at the 50-minute mark every game. He's breathing heavy like a dog. He's being outrun by the referees. He can't reach the box. My man can't reach. Why? I don't understand. We've invested big money. And the thing is, at the end of the day, you got to look, the biggest indictment was the fact that we bought him and 6 months later we went and bought Aubameyang. That tells you all you need to know about Lacazette. Because really and truthfully, if Lacazette was doing the business, we would have never bought Aubameyang. That's the reality. And the reality is we've been hamstrung ourselves for the past 3-4 seasons because we've been trying to make it work with £110 million strike force. And really, the reality is Aubameyang tried in it, and obviously now he's at the end. Lacazette has been a dud most of his time here, in my opinion. And we need a new striker. I'm sure, obviously, we'll get onto it later on in the pod. But I'm tired of all these guys, to be fair. Like, which is why, even though I have my criticisms of Arteta, he didn't buy Lacazette, he didn't buy Aubameyang, he didn't buy Pepe in it. Do you know what I mean? You're talking about nearly 200 million worth of forwards there that my man didn't buy in it. So he probably wants his own new forwards, and I'm sure, obviously, if it's not this window, he'll have it by summer in it. So we need change ASAP, because the reality is, I love Saka, I love ESR, I love Martinelli, but we shouldn't be relying on them every single game. Do you know what I mean? So if you look at all our other rivals, these guys are squad players, and they're part of the solution. We're relying on these guys as the solution, and I love them as much as anything. But what's going to happen? They're going to burn out. The reality is, you're looking at Saka. Saka looks tired now.
Yeah.
He looks tired. Do you know what I mean?
I hear what you're saying about Arteta. He didn't sign them. They're not his forwards. But where I point the finger at Arteta a piece now, they're gonna call us Touchy Gooners after this episode. 100%.
Of course, they've been laughing at the account all day. Of course.
Where I point the finger at him is because he held on to Lacazette where there was a legitimate opportunity to let him go. Mm-hmm. Yeah, in the summer there were opportunities to get rid and reset a little bit, or freshen things up a little bit, or bring in someone who's more to your liking. Yeah, so fine, you inherited him, but
multiple summers, Shabs. Multiple summers.
I don't think it was the summer just gone, but definitely the summer before there was a bid from Roma where he should have taken that 100%. And to be fair, also to your point, he renewed Oba, so he chose to keep him. So yeah, he has to hold that himself. He has to hold that himself. And he probably
let go of Abba during that crazy run.
The thing is, we had this big discussion in the group chat, and at the time, myself and Leo said I would be happy to let him go. But obviously, this came off the back of the FA Cup win. Obra just had another good season, so on the surface, it would have looked a bad decision if you had let him go. But at the end of the day, if you don't think he fits your style, then let him go. Let him go. Listen, that's the reality of the situation. Let him go. But now obviously you've hamstrung yourself to a 350k per week forward, who nobody else is going to give you the money for that. The only team that will give you the money for that is Middle East teams. But according to the reports, based on what it looks like, you don't want to go to the Middle East. So it is what it is, man. So yeah, I think we've even deviated off topic.
You can't drink alcohol in public there, so I know why you don't want to do that, bro.
But yeah,
on Milan and them after him as well on the loan side.
And yeah, so on the Lacazette point, I want to stop it there because we're going to come back to the striker thing there, because I think we're all agreed that we need to upgrade in that position. He's not giving us enough, and I think there's just something else that I wanted to touch on from this game, because do you guys think it's strange that he didn't decide to bring on Nuno Tavares? Because I think in previous games, he's not been sort of slow to bring Nuno off the bench when he's been there, and this is prior to the Nottingham Forest game when he got hooked at half time. Basically, I think whenever Nuno's been on the bench, he's pretty much come on quite a few times this season. So I'm looking at it here in league, of his 21 appearances, he's come off the bench 7 times. He started 6 times, and he's come off the bench 7 times, right? So, it's looking like, and I thought it was quite strange. He only made 1 sub. We're at 0-0. You've got Rob Holding playing at the back, Ben White playing right back out of position. It's 0-0. We need a goal. You have someone who has that ball carrying ability of Nuno Tavares, just some of that X factor that he brings, that unpredictability against the deep block like Burnley. Burnley are not carrying much threat. And I thought it was quite strange that we didn't see Nuno at all. So do you guys think that there's something there that he didn't come on when it seems like quite an obvious move to potentially take Holding off, bring Nuno on?
I think because Nuno's been shocking the last 3 or 4 games. He's been a bit sloppy on the ball, even when he gets on the... So earlier when he was in the team when he was playing well, he was getting assists. Like, his final pass was a lot better. But I think in the last 3 or 4 games, his passing just been erratic. Even he gets into good position and just shoots anyhow, like he's playing in the Cup of Nations. I think he's dipped a bit, so I think that's probably why Arteta hasn't really gone to him. I think his ability to make passes and to keep the ball has gone to absolute shit. So he needs to go back to the training ground and just work on that. I think that's probably why he hasn't really brought him on. Because when you watch him, even though he beats his man, when he gets to he's like, do you remember Kolasinac when he first started? And he was getting a lot of assists in them positions, and then for some strange reason, his decision making just went to absolute shit. That's happening to Nuno in the last 3 or 4 games when he's come on or when he's being brought on. He gets to the final third, and then he just either skies it, or the final pass has just been missing. So I don't think you trust him anymore,
Mm.
I ain't seen him
That's
since he got hooked.
So that again.
You haven't
I
seen him.
ain't seen him since he got hooked, and this is like a Arteta thing, right? Once he takes you out the team, you're out the team for a couple months. That's what happened to Lusungu as well. He was out the team for like 3 months nearly. No sub appearances, no nothing. And you're wondering, why ain't you bringing my man off the bench at least? So when he needs to start a game, he's kind of in the rhythm. And I do want to give context. So we probably will talk about Lukonga.
Okay, so Dan's distracted.
Yeah,
Mid sentence, yeah.
Just
Oh, go on,
Bro, I'm just hearing
yeah.
a big knock, but yeah, yeah, I do think that made it difficult for him to come back in the team, you know. So, and he definitely struggled because of that. So we got to give some context when we discuss him later. But that's going to be the same with Tavares. He's going to be at the team for a couple months, and then he comes back in, struggle. Like, I don't think he prepares players to get into or performance as well. They're just out in the cold, or they're playing every game like Saka right now. So. Yeah, I don't think he utilizes the squad well enough. Like, so yeah, I think that's a result of that. And then the subs in general with him are always weird. Like we said, at right back, he's got Ben White at right back and holding at centre back. Burnley carry next to no threat. McNeil down that left hand side a little bit, nothing else. Take Holding off. Bring Tavares right back. Bring one of the. I was thinking, bring one of the academy boys right back. Bring that Hutchinson right back, so Saka has someone to play off, and Saka can directly attack Peters 1v1, and he's not getting as much double teamed up, and you know he gets a bit of space. Maybe you can play someone to overlap. Even Chambers at right back. There was no runs off Saka. Same as Martinelli. Martinelli 2v1 all the time on the left hand side. Tierney hardly overlapping. And I thought Tini would play pretty badly, but I also think the instructions are don't overlap. So he's tucking in. He's not going beyond Martinelli. So Martinelli has to go past a man, past another before you can cross or come inside. The makeup of the team is kind of reminding me of before when we struggled to score. We're having the same sort of kind of touch points again where people are not making the runs in those positions. We're not playing through the middle enough. We're doing just a lot of crosses. It has to be varied again. It has to go through all the different channels again. And it has to be, I think Odegaard kind of mitigates some of it because he's quite creative and he buzzes around. But I feel like there's a lot of things in the way we've been playing in this last month.
Can I give you guys a theory? Can I give you guys a theory, right? So like, I think a lot of the time, so one of the things that gives me this theory is that in a moment in this game that Yemi mentioned as well, when Ben White, he was supporting Erdegaard on that right flank, yeah, and it's Erdegaard, and I mentioned it in the group as well during like right in the game, is that Erdegaard has to point to him to say, "Give me the overlap," yeah. When if you're watching that, and if you're normally like in your like just if you're a normal right back, yeah, you would go, that's automatic because it's the most sensible thing to do. You know, Erdegaard ain't gonna beat him on the outside. He's gonna want to come inside. So give me the overlap to take a defender that way. And if a defender don't go with you, I'm gonna give you the ball. Yeah, it's a normal like football 101 move. Yeah. But Ben White has to be told to do it. Yeah, and it's not like the natural thing for him to do. And for me, I feel like when the team is high on confidence and playing well, those things come automatically to them. Yeah, so in the month of December, when these men are, you know, they're buzzing, they're slapping, you know, Leeds kids, this, that, and the other, they're beating Southampton, they're beating West Ham. Those things come easy. Like you're seeing Tomiyasu get loads forward in December. Yeah, but then the moment that you know sort of confidence is knocked, this that, and the other, they go back into the manager's instructions and they say the manager is telling me to stand here because we're scared of the counter attack, and they're scared to sort of break out of that structure so much because I remember that Newcastle game at the start of or during November or at the start of December, Saka broke out of structure. He found himself on the left hand side to go because that's where the ball was going, and he you know was able to break that deep block by breaking from the structure. But we didn't see any of that today. And do you not think it's a confidence thing because some games when we're playing well, you see a lot of breaking from that structure. You see players moving all over the pitch. You see Saka popping up on the left and on the right, Smith Rowe popping up on the left and on the right. But when we're low on confidence, everyone is firmly in their position. Do you think that's a factor?
I think there's a couple things at play here. So the best I've seen of Arsenal this season is when the shape is, Xhaka alongside Partey. That's when it looks most balanced. For us to, that's looked the best balance. Once we've obviously changed and we've tried to incorporate ESR and Odegaard into the midfield three, it's not worked as well as we would have liked. So it feels like Xhaka and Partey seem to give a better structure or a better platform for the attackers to thrive. Just on the point, obviously mentioning about why overlapping, I just think you've got to base it on what you've seen of Arteta at the time. He doesn't want his right back to overlap. The right back doesn't overlap in this system. Do you know what I mean? So the role of the right back is to tuck in as either a third centre back in build up or a third centre mid, in build up as well. So, and then they aim to release Saka down the right and hopefully get him in 1v1 with somebody, obviously. But where I have had criticisms of Arteta and what I don't like is, sometimes you've got to adapt to the game state. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes the approach is not working, and no one's saying that your system is bad, but sometimes dependent on the game state, you need to change the approach. So for example, obviously you mentioned a way to keep the attacking dynamic but change it up would have been to move Ben White in, move Chambers there, in at right back. I remember that game against West Ham last season where Chambers was overlapping loads at right back. So I do wish he would adapt a bit more to the game state rather than just necessarily replacing one individual out of the system. We could have gone 4-4-2, but like you said, Burnley didn't pose a single threat in open play. They had no threat. So that means you could have taken a bit more of a risk, as much as, sometimes Wenger was a bit too cavalier, but he would have in that sort of home game, Wenger just would have put on another attacker because there wasn't the threat from Burnley. So I would like to see Arteta adapt a bit more at times and, maybe, take off a defender, put on a midfielder, or like I said, I had no problem bringing on Eddie. Cool, but put Eddie up front for starters and maybe change to like a 4-4-2. Because at the end of the day, I think as Yemz said earlier, Burnley weren't marking anybody in the box. They had no target to mark. It was so easy because at the end of the day, there was no box presence. And obviously, again, this links back to the fact that we need a proper number 9 with box presence. So yeah, I think there's multiple factors. I would like to see, sometimes the right back overlap. I don't think that's the biggest factor in sometimes, why we might struggle, because when I watch City and I rarely see Trent and Cancelo overlap. Obviously, caveat, they're fantastic footballers, so they can influence it in different ways. So I don't think the fullback always has to overlap for it to be effective, but we need to find better ways to give support. Because one of the things I've noticed this season, even though Odegaard and Saka have a decent relationship, and obviously Odegaard he likes to drift over to the right half space so he can combine with Saka. But one of the things I used to like about ESR and Saka last season, where they had a natural sort of synergy, because ESR is a natural right footer, he will always go on the outside of Saka. He always did it. So that would allow Saka to cut in. And obviously, sometimes, Saka is trying to cut in, but it's into crowded spaces at the moment. So it would be nicer to give him different ways of supporting him. So I don't know if there's any one answer. Overall, it just boils down to we need more quality at the same time, but we should have had enough to beat Burnley at the weekend.
You muted, bro.
Yeah, you're on mute, Dan.
Yeah, fair play, man. Thanks, Seun. And I think some good things raised there. And I think coming away from the sort of what happened in the game, I think a lot of our issues really have stemmed to how we have chosen to approach this season off the pitch. I think the fact that Xhaka's red card, Partey's red card, I think both of them have to hold some blame. But first and foremost, we got lucky that Partey was back because Ghana was so bad. Partey was not supposed to be available for the midweek game or this Burnley game, and wouldn't have been had Ghana gone through the group stages. First time they haven't since 2006, and that wasn't really expected, even though a lot of people had some hope. But we got lucky that Partey was available. He got his red card, which he has to hold and he apologized for it. It's something about whether you agree with players doing apologies is another story. But
Should have kept it in the
Yeah.
drafts, man.
yeah, I don't really care about seeing any words from him. I'd rather just see you play well on the pitch. Well, we got lucky that he was back, anyways. Yeah. Otherwise, we would have had only Xhaka and Lokonga for the entire period of January because they decided that they were going to let Maitland-Niles go a few days into the window. And I think the way that we've chosen to approach this season, not least in the summer, but also in terms of this January window, has cost us, and it's cost us gravely, as far as I'm concerned, because the lack of movement and signings and activity in the summer window, I think, cost us points against Brentford, because we decided that we weren't going to add a senior centre midfielder in the summer before the season started. I know Xhaka was flirting with leaving Roma, but he was away deep into the Euros. I think they got to the semi-finals the day of Switzerland, or was it the quarters? I can't remember. But they were deep into the Euros. He wasn't really that involved in pre-season. And we wanted him to come straight back into the starting lineup from day one. Partey got his injury in pre-season. We knew he wasn't going to be available, and because of their decisions that they weren't going to, sort of go out and sign a senior centre mid, Lokonga, a 21-year-old, never played in the league, is thrust into the Prem. He gets pammed by Brentford, Chelsea, etc., the first 3 games. We decided not to buy a forward. Our 2 forwards catch COVID. They're unavailable. We have to play Martinelli, fresh from the Olympics, no preseason. Balogun, who clearly the manager doesn't trust because this is only a league appearance of the season. And we lose 3 points and potentially 6 against the Chelsea side, who, even though they started well, if we win our games in hand, we're not that far away from. If you look at points per game, we're pretty similar to Chelsea this season. So, given our home record, I don't think that's a guaranteed 3 points drops either. And then we come into January now, and we have known the African Cup of Nations isn't something that is a surprise to anyone. We said it. We're going to lose Partey and El Neni in January. January 1st, we need a centre mid in, right? So not only did they not bring a centre mid in, they decided to let a centre mid go in Ainsley Maitland-Niles. Yeah. So, when you come to another game, a Burnley match, and you look at what Burnley's makeup are, they're big, they're tall, they're strong, they're physical. Yeah. And you're telling me that a 22-year-old who looks like he's never been into the gym in his life has to play lone 6 for Arsenal Football Club. That's insanity to me. If you look down the league, how many 22-year-olds are asked to underpin their centre mid? Yeah. So even if you want to look at the top teams, and the top teams, they've all got 25 and above, playing centre mid. If you look at someone like Scott McTominay, yeah, physically he can hack this league. Do you get what I mean? And Ndidi, he can hack this league. These are the youngest guys in the top 10 teams who are playing centre mid, and yet we're asking 22-year-old who's never played this league before to come in and be a lone CM. That's negligence for me. That's gross negligence. Do you get what I mean? Look at Man City centre mid. They don't have anyone younger than 25 in there. Actually, I don't know how old Rodri is, but physically, he's a specimen. Chelsea, you got Jorginho, late 20s, Kante, 30s, Kovacic, late 20s. You look at Liverpool, you got Fabinho, late 20s, Henderson, early 30s. They had Wijnaldum in there, early 30s. And then Curtis Jones plays on occasion. He's not really a mainstay in that team. And we've gone into the season asking a 21-year-old who's never played in this league before to come and be the first backup, the first substitution. I don't think that's right. And I think that's out of order, not just on, sort of on the prospects for the season, but I think it's out of order for Lokonga as well, because look at the way we're talking about him. right? Like we're saying Lokonga's not it. We're saying Lokonga, you know, is not ready. We shouldn't have signed him, this, that, and the other. But you know, this is not the environment for a 21 turning 22-year-old to succeed. So, you know, I'm not going to turn around and pretend that he's been good. You know, I think he has shown glimpses of potential, this, that, and the other. But I think it's negligent that this is the guy that we're asking to be our third CM for the season. And we have basically thrown away points because we've relied on someone who we shouldn't be relying on. So I don't know if anyone has anything to comment on that. Shabs, I'll let you talk on the Sungu because you're fighting some allegations this week. So I'll let you say your piece.
Listen, man. People love to chat my name and call me and pin me down with false charges and that. None of it sticks. None of it could anyway. We all know what the truth is.
We go again, brother.
We all know what the truth is. We all know what the facts are. By the way, we just finished talking about Nuno Tavares not too long ago, yeah, and Alphonso Davies was ringing in my mind when you man was just chatting about Nuno. So don't forget that, German Dan, yeah. Well, anyway, I
don't run from allegations, but
yeah, that's cool, man. Accept it. But yeah, man, listen, Lokonga, I think what you said in your take on him is fair. I think, yeah, he hasn't been good, but German Dan made a point about rhythm, and I think that's important and that's so overlooked. And if we're going to criticize, he deserves to be criticized because he hasn't performed to a certain standard, but you also cannot ignore the context. And, you know, I think that's spot on. I think that's fair and accurate and balanced from you, German Dan. Like, yeah, there's certain things in terms of his actions on the ball have at times left a lot to be desired. I think he played one pass in the Liverpool game where, you know, he came inside kind of off the left flank into a central position, opened his body up and played that ball through to Lacazette to go and shoot like one wildling. And I like that about Lokonga. I think he has that in his locker. The problem is we don't see it often enough. But some of his other actions on the ball are just loose. He doesn't seem to be quick enough. He doesn't seem to be decisive enough when he's on the ball. Off the ball, he looks lost. One of the queries, you know, and again, we went back and forth even before we signed him about one of the question marks that we had about him was his defensive actions and how good he is off the ball and how good he might be at covering spaces and whatnot. And yeah, he's young, and you know we got to allow some room for him to grow there. But I think you're spot on, Dan Koogs, in terms of it being negligent to pin your hopes on him to carry us throughout the season when our starting central midfielders are unreliable. Thomas Partey is unreliable just in terms of his availability. And his performances haven't been consistent either. And Xhaka's unreliable. You know, Xhaka himself has had suspensions this season. He's had injuries this season. His performances, I don't think, are consistently of a high enough level which warrant him starting, really. Xhaka starts because we have no better central midfielders in our team. That's it. I'm under no doubt. So if we had better midfielders like Xhaka, I don't believe would be or deserves to be a first choice or a starting pick. So these are the conditions that Lokonga's in. So yeah, he's out there. He's like probably one of the most senior. He was like, no, sorry. See, he was playing in the six. He's 21, 22 years old. So he's got no one out there to assist him in the game against Burnley the other day. And the bottom line is that even with this, we should have still beat Burnley. But for me, I am critical of him, but I do think that there are caveats and things that need to be considered. And I do think it's a fault that we've pinned so much hope on him. I don't think it's fair to have that expectation of him. In a similar-ish way, I don't think it's fair to have the expectations of Saka, of ESR, of these young boys. Like, it's these young players that we're looking to and who are having to hold us up and just set pace. And fine, Saka has showed and proved. So you know that there's something there. So has Martinelli in recent months. So has ESR. Lokonga's not there yet. He hasn't done that yet. So I see you need to do something to manage your assets better. You need to do something to manage your squad better. You need to not blow hot and cold with him if you're the coach and say that he's in when we need him. But actually, when I've got opportunities to play him and give him minutes and get him familiarized and acclimatized with who we are and what it is that we're trying to do here, you do that, because otherwise it's just poor management and poor planning. You know, I don't think it's fair to rely on this guy when we've got no one else and we really need him. So yeah, it pains me. It pains me that it hasn't worked out so far for Lokonga, because he has come with some promise, you know, and he is a young player. I think a different and better environment, we could see more from him. And I've got no doubt that he will learn. I've got no doubt that he will improve, but whether he will improve at a pace which is conducive to us being as competitive on the pitch as we need to be, you know, are his timeframes for becoming a good player aligned with our timeframes and expectations as fans? And I don't know. I don't think we can answer that right now. But the evidence in front of us, what we've seen on the pitch, it's not good enough. It's not consistent enough. And I feel for the kid. I feel for the kid. But yeah, man, it's not there.
Yeah, same. I kind of feel for him, you know. But you know, we have to analyze what we see on the pitch, and we've given all the context, and the context is definitely important. The rhythm, the expectation, the you know, change in and league and intensity and responsibility, etc. Everything that comes with playing for Arsenal midfield. But I think it kind of shows you maybe what level of player he is right now compared to other players his age. You know, there could be players his age. There's players out there his age that come in and, you know, they look solid. They do a proper job. I think his personality
in the Prem though.
Yeah, I do think so. Yeah.
In similar,
I think if you look at someone like Declan Rice, Shabs, yeah, who's younger than him, right? Who people criticize.
That's a bit unfair.
But I'm asking about the circumstances. Wait, I'm asking about the circumstances as in coming from abroad, from a different league.
Yeah, it's a bit unfair.
And then I would say, even if you look internally at Arsenal, I think Torreira is a similar player to him when he was signed at Arsenal. I think Guendouzi is a similar player and age to him when he was signed.
Even younger.
Guendouzi was young. That's Guendouzi's fair. That's fair.
Do you know what I mean? So I think, you know, it, and this is why I was I put this comment up as well, right? Is you know, and this is my point, just generally on young players and young managers, young people within a team, right? So, you know, I think this whole sort of they're young, you shouldn't expect much, is fine in some circumstances, but when you're a young manager that has been given the keys at Arsenal Football Club, I am expecting a lot, because you need to justify that reason why you are playing, why you have been given the keys to manage such a club. I get it, which is why I didn't want Arteta in the first place, because I know there's mistakes that's going to be made that can be costly when you are a young manager. You know, there's a lot of young managers, I think, who have been written off very early in their careers because they've gone too high too early. You know, people that have been talked up as the next big thing, but they're not quite ready because they haven't made certain mistakes yet. But those mistakes that you make when you're at the top level, a top club cannot afford to let you make them, right? And it's the same with young players, right? So you look at Phil Foden at Man City, the reason why he is able to do half the things that he can do is that when he's playing badly or when he's in bad form, he's hooked or he's taken out the firing line. He doesn't start the next 3 games, you know, until he gets his head right and until he sorts himself. So, you know, when people say it's a harder environment for him to sort of thrive in and shine, I kind of disagree with that sometimes, because, you know, when Phil Foden isn't playing well, we don't see him. You know, he's not in the limelight. We don't see bad performance from him because he's not given 2 or 3 games to play through his bad performances. Do you get what I mean? He's taken out the firing line, and then he can get his legs right. If he's feeling a little bit tight, he can rest. But Bernardo Silva can play, Grealish can play, Sterling can play instead of him, KDB can play instead of him, and he can come back and he can do his thing. And even if he's giving you a 7 out of 10, you know, that's calm. Whereas someone like Saka, someone like Smith Rowe, when they're playing crap, when they're tired, they play 90. Then they got to play the next game. Then they got to play the game after that. Then they got to play the game after that. Do you get what I mean? So it's like when you are young, you need to justify your position in the team if you're gonna be playing week in, week out. So the young excuse, I think it's fine, and it has merits, but you also need to look at the circumstances that this guy has been selected to be the third centre mid. So when Xhaka is missing and Partey's missing, and the level drops so drastically, he's not ready. Simple as.
I think it's even the expectations are even higher when you're a young player at Arsenal. If you were a young player at Burnley, people don't give a shit, man. You don't have to justify your selection with performances as strongly as at Arsenal. If you're a young player starting for Arsenal putting money into you, people expect a special talent. That's just what we expect. When we've bought players young and they've come in and they're done well, this is the justification, you know? So when you then see someone that plays average or below average, of course people are going to be outraged. It's like, why have we done this? Why have we not taken that 17 million or whatever and put another 20 on that and bought Bissouma, bought Bruno
Bro,
G?
you're seeing the price for Bruno G today. Yeah, I think
30.
Lokonga was 20 million euro. Yeah, or 17.5. Double it. You know, double it. Sell Maitland-Niles in the summer. Because he's not played much in the league. Sell him in the summer for 10 mil. Add that to the Lokonga fee and get yourself Bruno G. Do you get what I mean? So when you see
he doesn't even have to guarantee to start. He competes to start. Lokonga is not pushing Xhaka or Partey when they're there. They're not. He's not pushing them. But
And can I just say that's my issue more than anything. It's that he just doesn't look ready. You know, he doesn't win duels. Like when you're playing centre mid here, you need to be able to compete. And when I mean compete physically. He's like a fairy boy. Like I'll run into him. That guy's gonna blow over, bro. Do you know what I mean? And we're talking. He's playing against big men. So either you have to be physically ready, or your brain has to be sharp. Because I mean, obviously, and this is an extreme example. Fabregas was never physically great, but listen, Fabregas's brain was working 5-10 times quicker than anybody else's. So really and truthfully, he could get away with it. So really, if you're not going to be at the level physically, technically, you have to be at the level. And for me, he hasn't shown enough in either aspect. So which is why I think we question it, because technically he hasn't shown that he's of a massively high level. And by the way, this is not me saying that he might not grow and might not be it in the future. But currently, for where we are, for what we need, you're looking at it and you're like, it's a waste of resources. That money could have been spent better. We could have had a more ready-made person to either challenge or displace one of Xhaka or Partey, because that's an okay partnership, but it can be improved. Do you know what I mean? So, so obviously it is what it is, because I mean, one of the things I've stopped doing is trying to project what I want onto the team and, look at it from what the manager wants. From the outside looking in, Arteta is very happy with Xhaka and Partey as a partnership. In my opinion, that's what he looks at and thinks is calm. Because even now, I don't understand why they're probably chasing like a lone centre mid, because it made sense when we had the fixture congestion, as Dan said, and, Ainsley Maitland-Niles was gone. We needed a centre mid then. We're out of both cup competitions now. We literally only have 18 games left. We have one game a week now, literally to the end of the season. There's no cup games. Fatigue is pretty much not going to be an issue. They're on a 2.5, nearly 3 week break now. He's pretty much going to play Xhaka Partey every week, unless there's an injury or suspension, basically. Lokonga's not going to start many games. Unless one of Xhaka or Partey is injured or suspended, I guarantee they will pretty much start every single game till the end of the season.
Yeah. And we need them to be fit, really, for us to have any semblance of a good season. And I don't know how likely that is, given Partey's injury history and Xhaka's history with his discipline, So we need them to basically play every single game from now to the end of the season, and fingers crossed they're able to. But we're 54 minutes in. We've discussed quite a few topics so far, but this is probably the part now that people tuned in, where heads are probably going to go. So you can see every man rubbing their hands like Birdman, ready to cook, ready to go in on a couple man behind the scenes, right? So there have been a lot of listeners' questions about this. Pretty much every single question is around sort of transfers, Edu, and what we're looking like for the rest of the season. So I'm gonna ask the questions, and then that will give you guys the chance to say your piece. I think. And so the first one that I want to go to is OT, but in the tweets. And he says, we were led to believe that Edu was working concurrently on several deals. Yeah. When can we expect to see the fruits of those deals? Yemi, I'm going to start with you here because I know you've been itching. Your skin is itching to get your claws into this Edu guy.
Do you know what kills me? Yeah, like when we had Edu, I swear to God, what team did he come from?
Corinthians.
Didn't the CEO or someone say, "Oh, good luck" or something?
Commiserations.
Commiserations. One journalist said,
you see,
he said Edu Gaspar's going to Arsenal. My condolences. That's
yeah. For when I saw that, I was like, this is gonna be a bumpy ride. So last season, I was like, you know what? I see what they're trying to do. I see the direction that they're going to. The thing is, a little bit of me still gives him. I'm thinking he's gonna do something. Because today, and I'm not one of them Arsenal fans that get a bit too gassed over the transfer rumors and go mad, like start searching airports and landers and whatnot. But that tweet almost got me in it. The one by his son posting, "Oh, my dad just signed an elite striker." So I want to Google quickly to see, right, did we sign someone? But to my disappointment, we signed nobody. There is no one. I don't know what their plan is. I don't know what they're trying to do. It looks like it's okay. We've got one target. What my man's name from Valentino? How do you even pronounce his name? Vlahovic, yeah. I don't even have to pronounce my man's name. But personally, I never watched him, so I watched a few highlights and what his game was about and read a few articles. And I was like, okay, this is literally what we need. This is if we're gonna design like a complete striker that Arsenal need, he fit the mold. But from time, it was clear that he wanted no one but Juve. Why the hell was we still pursuing him? Like, what was going on with that? Then it's okay. Who's the next target? I'm seeing names like Dominic Calvert-Lewin. If that guy comes to Arsenal, I swear to God, I will stop watching Arsenal games. That's the day that I stop, because if he comes to Arsenal, we're making the same mistake. This is it's a younger Lacazette, is all it is. He's not gonna bang in goals. He's gonna struggle to play against a low block for Arsenal. It's not Everton where teams just open up and then he's got that space in the box where he's great in the air and he gets those tap-ins. You're not gonna get that Arsenal. You actually have to work and show some technical qualities, which I haven't seen from him whatsoever. I don't know who they're after in terms of strikers. It doesn't make sense. I saw a loan for that in Madrid.
Jovic.
No, don't. How many games has he played in last year or so? Like 5 or 6 games. What are we doing? We need someone who's gonna come in now and mash work. They need to go and play that release course for my man at Sociedad, Isco, whatever his name is. They need to go pay that. But right now, I'm nervous because I don't see a plan. I don't know who they're gonna bring in. It looks like it's just, whoever's available, whatever we can get for whatever deal we want to pay, that's who we're getting. I don't think they're gonna do anything. So I'm nervous in it. I don't trust Edu. I don't trust them all.
Yeah, and the thing is, so it comes back to the plan, right? So like, if you look at it, Fiorentina, they have Torreira there, yeah. So that's 15 mil banked that we were planning on doing there, yeah. And then we're gonna pay the rest cash. So we obviously thought that we had some cash to spend. They're willing to spend some cash on Vlahovic in this window, yeah. From all the reports from Fabrizio, from all the English journals, from DiMarzio, etc., we've been hearing that Vlahovic ain't picking up our calls for months. This ain't even something that's transpired in the last week. All the reporting around this deal, Vlahovic to Arsenal, said this brother ain't interested. That's the thing. That's the thing that I find difficult, yeah, because it's not like I think it's not like one of these ones where you're getting encouragement through the reporting. So if his team, was saying, all right, Arsenal are not with, when you get the reports, Arsenal don't have the funds, or Arsenal need to break the bank to get my man in. That wasn't the reporting we're getting. All the reporting and all the briefs from his camp, because I'm assuming Arsenal ain't putting that out, that they're getting aired in the DMs, yeah. all the reports from his camp that we can sort of, reliably assume has come from his camp is that they are not on it, bro. Like, this is these times where a girl gives you a number on a night out, you send her one message, double ticked until Tuesday. You message her the next day, it's double ticked until Tuesday. It's them ones you archive the chat, you keep it moving. Do you get what I mean? You don't then go and start double messaging and saying, yo, babes, are you serious? Why did you give me your number then? Your butters anyways, kind of thing. Do you know what I mean? That's what these men are doing. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, when early in November, if I'm telling you, guys, I want you to come to the club, I'm interested, and they're blue ticking you, big man, move on. Who's the next target? Let's get it rolling. Do you get what I'm saying? Why is it now with, 5 days to go? When Juventus, the guy, like, every report said Juventus have a deal ready for this guy. Juve. It wasn't any other club. There was some talk about Tottenham, this, that, and the other. But the serious stuff, Juventus. So if I'm Edu, I have 2 or 3 things lined up, and I say, boom. If this doesn't happen this month, I can go bang, and we get the next one in, right? Do you get what I mean? And it feels to me that these guys really and truly put all their eggs into this Vlahovic basket, which is worrying to me.
They can't have, surely. Like, it doesn't. A club the size of Arsenal can't surely believe that. Okay, that you just have one target and that's it. I refuse to believe that they went into the transfer market in January knowing where we're stuck, knowing the kind of players that we need and the type of players that we need. He went in thinking, this brother's not picking up our calls. That's not even entertaining it. I'm just hollering. Yo, what go on B? She's airing me. Yo, what go on B? Like, she's airing me. Like, man ain't getting no traction. Like, what? Do I have to spend bottles? Cool, man, I can afford to. Like, that's what we're doing. We said, we got the P. Yeah, I got a Henny, come to the VIP. And she's saying, nah, I got a man at home, Juve. But you're still there trying to, it doesn't make any sense. So I refuse to believe that they've sat there and that's the only plan. So that's my only hope, that they're going to do something. There's 5 days left. It's January. They can just go to the Liga and give man the 70 M's and go, there you go.
With the suitcase, with the suitcase.
You know what I mean?
Duffel bag.
I think they can do that. I refuse to believe that he was the number 1 target and that was it. Because if that's the case, then they need to give him that pink slip. He needs to go in January straight. He needs to bring a new.
You see this Edu guy, yeah. You saw how I was shouting into my phone in Yoruba yesterday, yeah.
Yeah.
I will release a whole diss track on transfer deadline day in Yoruba. With that Ether beat in Yoruba, if my man does not do it, he has 4. He's coming down to now 4 days, yeah. Tic-tac, bro. Tic-tac. Brother, I am waiting because this guy, I cannot lie to you, he's taking the absolute piss, bro. What are you actually doing? What are you doing? If they're saying that you've been on that Vlahovic case, as Dan said, since October, bro. My man has said, no, move on, bro. Move on. Because right now, I can't lie to you, if I do not see a striker before deadline day, yeah, I'm riding out with my belly on this guy, bro. I'm going to smash that barbecue over his head. Honestly, because I don't understand what you've been doing. And the thing is, it's not even just me, yeah? Because, listen, we were all there at the start of the month for the Arteta press conference. You heard what Arteta was saying in that press conference, bro. Arteta himself said it. So do you think Arteta himself is happy with what's going on right now, bro? I know Arteta is Steven, bro.
Impossible.
I saw Arteta talking spicy to whatever cronky it was yesterday when he was in America, bro. He looked vexed.
Veins were popping.
He looks like he's begging my man to release funds for somebody, bro. So they need Edu. If he don't bring something, we need to have a conversation about this guy's job. Even then, there's still probably a conversation to be had because I don't know what he's doing. Arteta said, we are short. We lack numbers. He said, we need to move. Brother, that's the manager that said that, by the way. No fan, the manager said that.
And the thing is with this, yeah, I just think basically, right, they had the money to pay for Vlahovic this January. They had it. So, if they do have a list of targets, surely they have to come back with a striker this January. Surely they do.
Listen. I don't know how much they vetted the other targets or gone through them or sweet talk them, but one thing I will never underestimate ever again is the incompetence of Edu Gaspar. I will not underestimate it. Never again. Because the window when we needed a CM or like a centre back and a right back, this guy went to Brazil. He came back with Pablo Mari, a failed Spanish man, zero Spanish apps, 26-year-old playing in Brazil, and he left Bruno Guimaraes in Brazil, and he brought Cedric as a right back, and I think the Cedric that was super booky as well because
All year deal.
Because it was
Bro,
a loan. No,
bro,
because it was a
Cedric.
loan. But we had some gentleman's agreement that we would sign him because we didn't want to lay down the money. So you loaned him and had a gentleman's agreement basically about the obligation, not option, which is outrageous. That no matter which way the loan panned out, we would give you the money for this player come the summer, and that's what we've done. It is mental, and now you've got Cedric Mari, who's no longer at the club. That we're talking. What's the time frame that we're talking about? Was it 2 years ago?
Like 2 years. I think he's
2 years.
Yeah, 2 years.
In the Premier League or something
Mari,
crazy.
who's no longer at the club. He's on loan now, currently, isn't it? Did he go to Udinese or something? And Cedric, who's just so clearly out of favour, like we
and not good enough. And not good enough.
Edu did Cedric there? Was that Edu?
Yeah, it's boys, isn't it? It's his boys.
Yeah.
So
I'm putting it on him. I'm putting it on.
But German Dan, keep going because there's more. There's more. There's the Willian deal. There's the.
That was the worst.
To be fair,
in 2 years,
Arteta has to hold that one as well because my man signed.
Listen.
I don't think
that's Arteta's kind of player. I think they're convinced of it. He's got
to hold all of these. He has to hold all of these. I'm sorry.
We're focusing on Edu right now, so keep going. Keep going.
Edu, Pablo Mari has got 14 appearances in the Premier League for Arsenal in 2 years, and we know half of them are disaster classes. And then he's got a couple meaty games where people thought he was good. That brother is trash. I told you guys from the get-go.
He's ass.
He's ass juice, man. And when we're talking about Edu again, Arteta is actually this summer he's actually started speaking up and said, no, I'm vetoing whoever you're trying to sign. Edu tried to sign.
Think of some of the ones Arteta vetoed, bruv.
Edu tried to sign Emerson Royale this summer.
Yo,
he tried to sign Neto this summer. It's craziness what he was trying to do this summer. So these players that we're getting linked to now, I'm not surprised when I see Raul de Tomas. I'm like, it's possible, bro. It's possible. When I see Midi Taremi, I know it's possible, bro.
Hey man, there's a guy with Midi in his name, yeah. They're linking him with us, yeah. I'm not. Come on, man. It's not right. It's not right. Next question, just on topic though, is from Camtana25. He said, "How are we pulling up on Edu to his house at the training ground and what time?" Another person. Ash. AESCFOS. I don't know how to say that. He said, "What's the dress code for when we turn up at Edu's house? I don't want to look
all black.
Place. Yeah, all black with the black Air
Forces,
ready. Yeah?
Yo,
all black with the black Air Forces. Yeah. So next question. Right? So he said, with all our CMs, this is from Yonko Abs. With all our CMs available in the next game, is it fair to say that the damage has already been done in terms of not signing a CM? So if we don't get top four, is the main reason for it a lack of squad quality or Edu's lack of planning?
Bit of both. Because when I look at it, I really only trust like 13 players in this whole squad. There's a big dip like after like the first 13 players, and you can even tell the reluctance. Arteta he's not using certain man, bro. So really and truthfully, we need more players. I don't think it will be a centre mid that costs us. It will be a striker that costs us. So really and truthfully, like, cool, I can even forego the centre mid till summer, but you can't leave this window without a striker. You actually can't leave this window without a striker. Lacazette, that is taking 3 shots a month, that will only shoot when Mercury's in retrograde, bro. You need to bring me a new striker, bro. You actually need to bring me a new striker, bro. This guy is allergic to shooting. I don't know how we have a £52 million striker that doesn't shoot. So you need to go and bring me a new striker. I confirm the centre mid. If Xhaka and Partey stay fit, cool. I confirm that till the end of the season.
Strikers have, by the way?
Yeah, so I was like,
Aubameyang-
top goal
Goals to our strikers.
Aubameyang 4, Lacazette 3 in the league.
I think
God.
Lacazette's on 4 in the league. I think it's
Three.
4 each. Is it
Three goals, 3 assists in the league for Lacazette.
And
Oh
how
my
many goals
God.
does Smith
Right.
Rowe have?
Smith
Sorry?
Rowe's on 8. Smith Rowe's on 8. Saka's on 6.
God.
And Martinelli's on 4 as well. So
God.
So
This club is
this is what I'm
finished.
saying, and it is very unfair that we're relying on these men to carry us, bro. It's very,
and
very
these are
unfair.
the youths.
Yeah, you need a
The youths.
striker,
Crazy.
so you need it. You need it. For
Alright,
me,
okay.
for me, I don't care. Like it is what it is now. Yeah, you're gonna have to overpay, but you have to go and pay
You
that
have to.
Isak release clause. You just have to. Yeah, you really have to. Like there's actually no viable other alternative. You have to go and pay that money.
You know
I can
what?
see
You know
them.
what?
Go on,
Sorry
Dan.
to interrupt. You know what's crazy about the striker situation as well is because they made the decision to go public with the Aubameyang thing. You know, the way they did, and you know, get him out of the paint the way they did. You know, so from that moment on, I remember we were doing the spaces at the time. I was saying, listen, I'm not happy with the way they dealt with it. Too public, too abrupt. But if they do this, they have to have the striker patent. There's no way they can think we can isolate Aubameyang and then just trust Lacazette and Eddie, who are leaving in 6, 7 months anyway.
And
They have to
and
have
the
a
thing is,
patent, they didn't.
the thing is with that, Dan, is it's clear that the manager didn't want to do that in the first place, right? Because if you see how we started the season, Aubameyang is basically starting number 9 every single game. You know, Eddie didn't get a minute until, was it the United game when he came on?
Yeah,
Or was it
like
Everton?
November.
You know,
It was like
so
it was like November. He didn't get a minute of football.
he
Premier
didn't
League
get a
football for
minute,
November.
so he wasn't even in the manager's plans. And now you're saying second half of the season, when we've done all this hard work, kind of thing. Eddie, I don't think has contributed. He's not scored a goal this season for us. So you're looking at it that we've got into this position with Aubameyang and then Lacazette as our main strikers, and the plan was not to involve Eddie at all, as far as I'm concerned. Because you look at it, if this guy was in favour or he was rated that much by the manager, he would have played a lot more than he had in that first part of the season, because that's when we were under pressure as well. Yeah. So if you're now going into the season telling us that, yeah, we're ostracizing Aubameyang and we're now relying on your clear second choice and your clear third choice, that says to me that our season's gone to shit. That says to me it's Kalam. You get what I mean? Because you have looked at these guys. You've had Eddie for 2 years. You've had Lacazette for 2 years. You know what they're saying, and you were not feeling them. You were not feeling them. So how can we now all of a sudden trust that Eddie stepped up enough? Do you get what I mean? So it says to me that our season's in the toilet if we don't get a striker in, because that's the own manager's actions that's telling us that. Do you get what I mean? So yeah, so I don't know if you had anything else that you wanted to add to that before I move to the next question.
Just get me a striker, bro. Whatever you do, just get me a striker, and not some 29-year-old Iranian don from Porto. I beg you, get me a proper.
We lost you there, man.
You mean yourself?
Yeah.
Sorry, yeah. I said get me a proper striker, bro. I said not some 29-year-old Iranian Porto don. Get me somebody. I am on my knees. I am begging. Please. I cannot do Lacazette anymore. It's Otito, John Torriolo. I've seen enough. Please. Because Moti Sofu Edu. Do you know what? I'll hold the diss track until after thing. You need a striker, man.
Do you know what it is? You see what it is? It's that heavy talk as well about not having to convince players. Like, if we need to convince players that they need to be here, then don't be here. Like, we won't type of thing. So that talk came out, yeah. But then, and I'm sure that was Arteta. But then he's been made to look foolish. He's been left with egg on his face a little piece, because then your guy who's the handler, supposed to be getting the deals sealed, I've been courting this guy quite publicly, for all this time, only for him to be umming and ahhing and if butting and maybeing. And then the moment that we're out of it, Juve get the deal wrapped up in basically next to no time. And that's made Arteta look stupid, really. Like, you know, through no fault of his own. Like, I appreciate the stance that he's like, you know, I appreciate his stance and where he's coming from. I hear it, and I quite respect it. But you got to be looking at the guys around you right now and saying, like, I need it. Like I've said this before, I need a wartime consigliere, man. Like, this is Sonny and Godfather.
A real general,
I need a wartime. I need Genko Abadando, the oil gen. Like, it comes to war, Tom Hagen's too nice. Like, he's not skilled in the art of war. I need blood, and Edu's not sniffing out no blood. He's not sharking these waters. Like, I don't know what he's doing, but he's not moving the correct way. So something needs to be done about that. And I find it very interesting, the whole Arteta going to the day after the game. He was in Denver, Colorado or wherever, next to the concrete.
To chat to the big man.
So you're thinking like, bro, like, you know, that's not local. That's not a local.
And to be honest, if Eddie's doing his job, if Eddie's doing his job, yeah, you know, I saw the reports. Yeah. I saw the reports that Edu and what's his name, Richard Garlick, they're staying in London. Do you get what I mean? So if Arteta is flying there to do chattings, you know, without Edu, then what does that say for my man? You know,
got over his head.
Is, you know what these Arsenal detectives, you know, they're reading lips out here. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, the guy is saying, you know, he needs to deliver in, and you see the way his head is shaking. This guy's rattled, bro. This is what I'm telling you, man. That I'm looking at this video and I'm telling you, the body language is not good,
I saw the video. Arteta was vexed. Did you see how his mouth was moving? Brother, this guy, I know.
I ain't seen the video.
It's only like 3-4 seconds. But you could tell man's heated. You could tell
man's heated, and they're watching ice hockey, so you know it's got nothing to do. You know it's got nothing to do with what they're watching.
Wow.
He's saying my man is not invested in ice hockey at all. He's saying this brother, this Brazilian bozo, is gonna get me sacked if you don't buck up his act. Yeah. So, anyways, yeah. This is the next question. A Presser V2. Shout out him. He does great comps. If you guys don't know, go
big him up.
Yeah. So he goes, if we don't get our targets this window, does Arteta get a free hit for the rest of the season?
Absolutely
no.
Absolutely not.
Hell no.
With everyone else being this shit, this is the best chance since Emre for us to get top 4. Because the other teams around us are shit. So he has to. This is his team. He went into the season with this squad. He decided to let players go on loan in January. Because he was getting all the praises when he was on top. If he throws this away and doesn't get top 4, nah, man, he has to hold that. I'm gonna add him to the list. Him and Edu. This is a joke.
Yeah, I think we're all in agreement there. There's no free hit, man. You need to seize this opportunity. You actually really do. You need to get if this is the squad that we're dealt with the rest of the season, he has to get the best out of them. We need to rack up points. I'm sorry, no excuses whatsoever. Next question. From Respawn Targa 1, shout out Don Jid. He says, we need a striker and a midfielder. Why aren't the club operating with urgency? And the second part, this for Dr. Leroy, who's not in the pod. He said, who's more of a bottler and a coward, Edu or Errol Spence? I'm going to leave that one for the boxing man. And then he says, were we ever in for Vlahovic? This club is frustrating. So question 1, why are they not moving with urgency? Boy, he wants to take that one.
I mean, we don't know what they're doing behind the scenes, which is why we're on to Edu heavy. I don't know what he's doing. It just looks very amateur because like we said, the window opens on January the 1st, but we know people are doing hard work behind the scenes throughout the winter months. They're grinding in November, December, making sure like you can do the groundwork then. You know, agree personal terms, know if the player's interested or not, which is why Koogs' point originally about you should have known before January opened whether Vlahovic wanted to join you or not. You really should. The moment you find out he's blue ticking and he's airing you, move on. So I feel like they were in for both a striker and a centre mid. They wanted the centre mid to cover the January period. The January period is pretty much gone now. So they're looking like there's no point signing a centre mid now. Because we've all seen, look, Bruno G's he's going to Newcastle, Arsenal. Listen, that one's touched me. The Vlahovic one didn't even upset me. This Bruno G one has rattled my head to the core, actually fully. they obviously don't want him. So they've got longer term targets in mind. Whoever those longer term targets are, the Athletic have spoken about Neves, Tielemans, Douglas Luiz. So we'll see who we target in the summer and who we end up with. So cool. I can hold that, even though we need, in my opinion, we need a centre mid. But cool, I can wait till the summer. But the striker, like I said, we can't leave this month without one. We absolutely can't. So let's see, man. Let's see.
Yeah, but you know what? Sorry, do you know what really buffers me though? Because as you man said with the Vlahovic thing, as soon as that's out the window, and that should have been early, October, November. Maybe you try to put your feelers out a little bit in December again. But really, like, what the requirements are for Isaac. He's got a release clause, so you need to start the process with him early. Then, as soon as as Vlahovic is not going to happen. Cool, not too much reporting on that. We haven't submitted a bit or anything like that. Cool, move on. Now we vetting Isaac. We vetting him and another target. I don't know. There's other players in the market. Sheik is doing really well. He actually fits the profile of what we need as well. He scores goals, tall, ball at his feet is decent. He had a very good Euros as well. Good age, like 26. So, like, you can start the vetting process earlier with these players and find out what it takes to get them. Whereas now it looks like, we've been chasing Vlahovic for time, just waiting for him to reply to our emails. He's never gotten back to us. And instead, he's now signing with Juventus. And we are there left with, actually, let's look at our other options. And our other options, I don't know, because we're not behind the scenes. We don't know. But it seems like it's not vetted. We're not to the stage where it's like, we need X, Y, and Z to get this Isaac deal done in 3 days. We need X, Y, and Z to get the chick down in 3 days. We don't know. It just seems like now we have to pay even more because of the situation, the way they have approached this whole thing. So
it's just a poor allocation of resources. Once again, it's poor. This type of thing, like, I'm not calling for a man to. I would never call for a man to lose his job, but you got to think about other sectors. Yeah, if this happened at the top end of business, for industry or organization the size of Arsenal, man, them's heads.
Oh, you're talking about a $1 billion business, bro.
Multi-billion.
That's how much it's valued. That's how much it's valued at.
Yeah,
what is it? They're rejecting 1.3. They're rejecting 1.3 billion.
Yeah, multi-billion we're talking about. So his head will be on the chopping block, bro. It's a poor allocation of resources, bro. It's like, imagine like you're preparing for an exam and you spend like all of your time, you spend 90% of your time focusing on one element, and then you don't leave yourself enough time to focus on the other things. When the test comes now, you fail everything. Question 1, you're defeated. That's what's going to happen. Like, as soon as we get back to competitive games, boom, our need for a striker is going to be evident. And then where do we go from there? You know what I mean? And even the midfield situation, we can talk about the striking department being a priority. For me, like, we saw what happened earlier on in the season. Like, we failed to strengthen adequately in midfield in the summer. And that's why we've seen the issues that we've seen in midfield for us. People can tell me about El Nene. People can tell me about Lukonga, all of this stuff there. Bottom line, in my eyes, they're not adequate replacements because they don't offer the quality that we'd lack with Xhaka and Partey being unavailable. So that's it. We saw it. Xhaka got himself red carded early on in the season against Man City. You know, he came back into the side. He then got injured. He was out for basically 2 and a bit months. You know, he's kind of played his way back in, was quite decent. And then, you know, he's just had these stupid brain dead moments again where he's getting himself sent off and doing dumbness and costing us games and points and game situations. He's just not reliable. Yeah, Partey is not reliable in terms of his fitness and availability for me. So we've left ourselves very, very light in that situation, and we've allowed players to leave without replenishing the side. So even from a numbers point of view, we're light and filling the ground. So you can tell me about 17, 18 games. I think it's risky because what happens if one of them get injured now? And our first game back, the window closes, go on the training camp, someone gets injured, out for like 3 months. That's the season done, dusted, finished. Facts. Like, there's no way back from that for me. Like, there's no hope of finishing the top 4 or European qualification for me.
And the reason why I think this season is probably extra crucial, let me say it this way, is
because we have
So
an advantage.
because if you look at who we're competing with, yeah. So the two teams that I think are the biggest competition are Spurs and Tottenham. And let's give the scenario if this is worst case scenario if either of them. So say United finish top four, right? They've got Ralph Rangnick moving upstairs, who most people sort of rate as a director of football, and then they could potentially get someone like Ten Hag in as their manager going forward. Yeah, they will have Champions League. They already have more money than us, etc. And they were the hot favourites to finish top four before us, before a ball was kicked. Yeah, fair enough, they're shit, but within the next 12 months, they could be absolutely clear of us. Yeah, completely clear of us. Right? If they get Champions League, we don't. Then the next scenario, United say they flop, they carry on doing their shit that they're doing, which might happen, might not. Then Spurs get top four ahead of us. They have one of the best managers in the world in Antonio Conte. London club, similar situation to us. They would then have the Champions League money to spend. And when they had it last time, they spent money. Whether they spent it well or not, they spent money, right? So they spent 55 or 65 million on Ndombele, 55 million on Lo Celso. They bought Romero in now for £50 million. And I don't know whether or not they're going to spend this window, but I've seen them bidding for Luis Diaz and all this stuff, right? So Spurs now get Champions League with Antonio Conte there, and their new stadium, this, that, and the other. They've attracted big names in the past, big talent in the past, and they're likely to do that again. So this is now a scenario where not only are Arsenal in a position where the rivals are already ahead of them in terms of Chelsea, Liverpool, and Man City, you're then giving a step up to another club who is floundering with us. You're giving them a step up and another chance to get ahead of us, because without Champions League football for another season, you're seeing man from Fiorentina are telling us they're not picking up our calls. In the last 10 years of your life, can you imagine a man playing at Fiorentina, age 21, saying, "I'm not even answering calls from Arsenal Football Club"?
Well, this is not the days of Batistuta and Chiesa and them, man. This is
Fiorentina finished like 11th last season, I think.
They're not competitors. They're not in Europa. They're not like these guys are not serious guys in Italy.
And then you're seeing reports, Alexander Isak unsure about the project at Arsenal. You get what I'm saying? This would be the 6th year. That would be the 6th year without Champions League football. So I'm telling you, I think the stakes are so high right now. Considering who our competitors are, the stakes are absolutely at their highest. And we need to capitalize on a chance and an opportunity for us to finish this season strongly and finally get back into the top four. Because if we do so, that gives us the platform that these other teams could potentially get. And I think us with this platform, it would finally show a step forward under this manager. And I think without it, I personally don't think, without top four, I personally don't think you can justify, given how this season has played, I don't think you can justify giving him a new contract personally. That's just how I feel.
I hear you, but they're going to give it to him anyway, bro. So.
Yeah, facts. They love him.
Yeah, so next question from Last of the Yows. He said, what do you think of Arteta's public approach when it comes to player disputes? And do you think his treatment of certain players has put potential signings off?
Oh,
yeah, definitely.
Absolutely. And I think that's the risk. That's the risk you take as well. Number one, I think it's interesting in terms of his stance on some of the older players. I don't think he particularly wants older players at Arsenal. And I think he's kind of marginalized all of the older players one way or the next. We're seeing it with Leno, and fine, there's a legit goalkeeping argument to be made there, and Ramsdale has come in and done very well, but we're seeing it with Leno, we've seen it with Oba. We saw it with some players deserve to be gone and moved on, like Kolasinac or whatnot, but there was a guard and there was an age of player which I just feel he was not comfortable with. We saw it with Ozil. And I think that's because he himself is young. He's still in his 30s, isn't it? That 38. Yes, I think he himself is still like young. It's part of him being a young manager as well, maybe not being as equipped to deal with some of these older pros. I think that may be a part of it. So I'm just interested to see how, because there is something for me about our team being unbalanced with, yeah, you want a youthful squad, but you want it to be dotted with experience as well. And I think he's just completely kind of come away from that. So there's that. But I think also, to answer the question, this is the price that you pay when you do things and handle things more publicly and in the manner that Arsenal have, with the likes of Aubameyang, and then I think there's a case to be with the likes of Guendouzi, but I also think there's a case to be made as well when you think about the handling of the Saliba situation, for example, because I think if you're a young footballer as well, you're probably looking at it and thinking, yeah, like you've got a right to be unsure. Maybe it's different for the likes of Saka and ESR, who are academy graduates and have come through and, you know, fine, they can penetrate and make their way into the team, but for a player like Isak, who we're surely going to have to break the bank for, I understand why he might be looking at it and saying, I don't know about the sporting project. I don't know if these guys could really... if I were him, I get it. It's Arsenal. There's huge pool. He's going to get big wages. He's going to have a big rep. But they're like, what, 2 points off? They're competing right now, aren't they, in La Liga, quite close to the top. They've got legitimate chances of finishing in the Champions League. He's saying, I'm going there to scrap it out. It might work for me, it might not. I don't know. So I can understand it, to be fair.
Do you reckon, you know, obviously Arteta was part of the Wenger team, and like the senior players with Wenger especially, they tend to like take the piss a lot, especially when RVP was living. You know, all that trying to tell Wenger who to sign and all the other things. Do you reckon Arteta has seen these things and thought, you know what, I'm not dealing with the senior pros. I'm gonna have an imprint on the younger players, and then this way the older players can't really challenge me if I just
you can
shift
afford
them
to
along.
do that as a coach, though. I think you need both. Like you need, especially to win you titles and championships. You need your experience.
You need both, yeah.
You need both. But I don't think he can afford to do that either. Like he just, for me, he doesn't have the capital to say I'm only working with these types of players. Like he doesn't, and I think that's why I don't think any of these situations which have ended for these players, these senior players at Arsenal, I don't think any of them have been amicable. I think it's always been like acrimonious, and there's a degree of hostility, and fine. Like I don't think a player's going to come out right now and talk about him. They're still playing, but I think when some of these players retire, who did?
Yeah, because apparently it broke today that Abba was like, he was shocked at like the level
severity,
of punishment they received at Arsenal just for missing
Yeah,
games.
about this incident.
I don't know if that's true or not. So
and that's fine. I think maybe like hearing about incident per se, that's different, and we know that's always going to be filtered a tiny piece. But I think no player, like it will be interesting when Özil's playing career comes to an end to hear what he says. You know, when players' careers come to an end, they then
that's when free.
That's when they talk. That's when they're free. He doesn't know now how his path might collide with Arteta again, like right now. So you're not going to say nothing.
You know what I think is important though is because I think it's important what the outward perception is, you know, because if you look at it, right, so like clubs like Dortmund, I think have they're painted themselves as a quality place for young players to come and play, right? So you know, if you're Karim Adeyemi, you know, and you're saying I'm not necessarily ready to go to a top European club, or you're Erling Haaland, you know, Man United are in for me. Do I go to them now, or do I go to Dortmund where I know I'm going to be able to play, good or bad, for the most part? I'm still going to get Champions League every year. I'm going to get a lot of game time, and I have the off chance of winning a trophy. You might, you know, be lucky and pick up a Bundesliga, but if not, you're still going to maybe get a DFB Pokal kind of thing. Yeah.
You're going to get into the second round of the Champions League, guaranteed, and probably the quarters, and you know.
Do you know what I mean? Like if you're a Sancho, if you're you know, a Reina, and all of these young guys that Dortmund play, and you look at it and you're texting your boys and you're saying, oh, you know, how was it at Dortmund? Yeah, and you're like, yeah, Dortmund's great. Come over here. And then, but if you're now, you know, a young player at Arsenal, you go to the France under 21, say Saliba's there, Guendouzi's there, yeah, and you're texting them being like, oh, what's it like at Arsenal? You know, and them man are gonna be telling you
man.
all sorts. You
I'll
know,
go there.
Guendouzi was in Germany last year. You know, so after the game, these men are saying, oh, what's Arsenal saying? Why are you here? Why are you playing for? Who was he playing for last season? Stuttgart or something like that? I don't know. A team that plays in
Berlin.
Hertha Berlin. Yeah,
Mm.
you're there and you're talking to him. What are you saying? Why did the manager drop you? This, that, and the other. You're saying, and he's chatting shit. You know, he's saying this guy's a psychopath. Yeah, do you know what I mean? Or you're messaging Aubameyang, who we know is good with the young players as well. Do you know what I mean? They're saying, what's it like over there? You know, or you're looking at Özil. You're saying, what's it like over there? I think there's way too many players now at Arsenal who have not had a good time. You know, you look at Torreira, he was in Spain last year. He's now in Italy. You know, these guys, I think footballers talk. You know, I think footballers talk
A lot, bro. They talk a lot.
Footballers talk a lot. And I personally, with this whole Project Youth thing, I think it would be a nice, it would be nice to be sort of like the place that young players want to go. But if you're looking at it now, you know, Chelsea seems like a better place for young players almost than Arsenal. If you're looking at it from certain perspectives, you know, Reece James gets a lot of minutes. Tammy got a lot of minutes for a bit. Havertz, Pulisic has played a lot there. Mount has played a lot there. You know, Mount was playing every single game. And I think outside of the English guys at Arsenal, you know, a lot of these foreigners are going to have issues. You know, Martinelli, before this season, you know, I don't think he was too happy with his treatment and his playing time under Arteta. Do you know what I mean? This guy's just coming to the team, at the end of November, start of December. What would he been saying to other young Brazilians prior to now about Arsenal and the experience? Do you get what I'm saying? So, you know, I personally do think that the way he's treated players is a bit of a put off, because look at Nuno Tavares that we were talking about earlier. Yeah, he played a few games and now he's in the manager's bad books. He's not coming on the pitch. The manager's making one sub and leaving Nuno to sit there. You know what I'm saying? In a game that we're not winning. So I think that's a big factor. That is a big factor. I don't know if you lot have anything to add.
I definitely think it's a big factor. I don't think I think in a lot of occasions it won't prevent us from getting some of these players, because Arsenal still has massive pool. Even though we are not great right now. And when we get Champions League, that pool will get bigger again. But I do definitely think that there's reservations from top talent across the country when it comes to Arsenal. They're just thinking, is the sporting project convincing enough? And then also, what is going to be my treatment? And those are completely fair reservations given on what's happened in the last 2-3 years at Arsenal. So, you know.
Yeah, there's a couple of questions. So there's a lot of questions still to go, but I know we've been going for an hour and a half. So I'm going to try to read out a few of these questions and then we can try and address them in groups, right? So I don't know, from Swag London, he said, is Arsenal's Project Youth only attractive to Arteta and TouchyGooners? So I feel like we've kind of touched on that with the last one. And he says, will signing a centre forward solve our problems when we're still around 12th in big chances created? Right. So I think that's an interesting one to touch on. So we've spoken about replacing Lacazette, etc. Lacazette's never in the box. I think signing a centre forward will, because it'll probably bring that chances created number up a lot, because I think a lot of the time,
create his own chances.
Lacazette don't even take shots. So
doesn't even make runs.
Doesn't make runs. He's never in the box, doesn't take shots. So I think signing another striker, it will make a lot of these balls into the box. It makes them into chances. You know, if you sign someone like Isak, he makes a lot of his own chances. You know, dribbling two man and then taking a shot. Do you know what I mean? So I think that one's an easy one. I think yes, 100% increases. And then he says, should Arteta walk if we finish between 6th and 8th? I just want a yes or no from you lot.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
He has to finish. I think just quickly on that, he has to finish within the European places as a bare minimum.
100%.
If it's outside of that, I think they might even sack him if it's outside. Of
To be fair,
can you define? Sorry, Sean, by European places, you mean
Europa League,
top
Europa
six,
League.
not conference.
Yeah.
I even feel after the summer, the board probably even gave him that remit. They were like, "You need to finish top 6." I think that's actually his remit.
I think that's what the aim is.
I think what that's what they've given Arteta to be his target. If you finish top 6, you get a new contract. Obviously, if you finish top 4, great. But I think top 6 is the minimum of what they're expecting. So yeah, if he finishes for me any below 6th, it's sack. He's got to go.
So Asa from the Touchlines and Touchdowns podcast. So he does the Touchlines NFL podcast. So if you guys haven't listened to that, make sure you go listen to it. If you're into the NFL, I think they're in playoffs at the moment. Super Bowl around the corner. So make sure you jump in and give those guys a follow as well. He said, how long before Matt Turner is the first choice keeper? So that's a bit of a banter one. I don't think we need to answer that here, but I don't think that's what he's been signed to do. Ranch Dinger says, is it me or is Ramsdale starting to look a bit off right now? So
he's looking very off.
Yeah, I think he's
very off.
To be fair, I think he's definitely been shaky recently. Don't know why. Maybe it's just a bad bit of form, or I mean, we'll see. I guess we'll see. But to be fair, I've also thought Gabriel's been a bit sketchy recently. I don't think Tierney's been great. Yeah, I feel quite a few of them have been a bit just off color, especially this month.
Pressure.
So,
I'm not worried about it. It's turbulence. I think it happens. It happens.
You're gonna get that Rocky.
For me, is to see how Ramsdale bounces back. Like he hasn't made. Oh, well, in fact, I was going to say he hasn't made.
That's just a Liverpool tie.
But those Liverpool ties were tiring. But yeah, he did make some errors in terms of like coming out in the game against Liverpool. But I think for me, it's important to see how players respond. Like that'll tell you what he's made of. Especially him, who he's described as, and we've seen characteristics, and he looks like he's got a bit of a strong mentality. So I'm not worried about Ramsdale like that. Also, I like to consider poor individual performances in the context of how the team's playing. I think if the team's playing well and someone's stinking up the joint, that's one thing. But I think if you've got multiple, more than half of the team are not performing well, you've got 5, 6 poor performances, really only like Odegaard and Martinelli who are doing well, then I think, I kind of consider it in a bit of a different way rather than singling Ramsdale out. I think our backline hasn't looked as sturdy as it has been, and we all know our midfield problems, and we haven't been clapping. Our goals are slowed down, so
I think it does look as if like this break came at a good time for us. It looks like we definitely needed that break in it. So maybe just like recharge. Because if I'm to be totally honest, while I'm critical and I still am very critical, I predicted 8th at the start of the season. So I said if we are and part of the reason why I'm so heavy on Edu right now is that I said, if we have a chance of top 4. So right now we're 2 points off top 4, right? So top 4 is there. It's feasible. Do you know what I mean? So we've got 18 cup finals when we get back, and a striker gives us the best chance possible of trying to achieve that goal. So I just feel like when it's available, because I didn't expect it to be feasible, why not give yourself the best possible chance? And that's why I'm upset with Edu, just because the position we found ourselves in, you could have given yourselves a big boost even if you'd started the month well. Do you know what I mean? So you knew what you were coming into. If you had a centre mid ready at the start of the month, look how cheap Bruno G's gone for. God help that. God help me. And then like if we, a striker as well, we'd. So I hope, man. I hope a lot's gonna put it this way. I feel like if we end the window and there's no new signing, there's going to be a bit of a meltdown from fans. 100%.
Boy. Yeah, so I want to link some questions together here. Yeah, so we've got Robin Stamford that says, if Arsenal don't sign anyone this window, is that a clear of note? He says, if we don't sign anyone, because I think that that backup keeper is going to come. Yeah, so if Arsenal don't sign anyone of note this window, is that a clear indication that the club aren't too bothered about missing out on top 4 this season? If so, What do you think the reason for that could be, i.e., too early in the project for these players and manager, right? And then another question that says, do you think we're overreacting a bit with the lack of transfers in January? Does anyone in the cast hold out hope that we can still make top 4 with our squad as is?
I don't think we're overreacting. I think if you look at the performances, I think the reaction is justified. Also, if you can, because we are projecting, fine, and we could be wrong. We could be wrong, but what we're doing is we're basing it off what we're seeing in front of us right now. That's the first thing. I think the second thing as well is that, and part of the overreaction is because we've had players move on in this window, so we've had players come out. So I think just for bodies, you need bodies and you need quality. And I think, yeah, fine, there's only 17 games left, but I don't trust. Like Sean keeps saying, I agree with him 100%. I do not trust us beyond that first 11, and I think even in that first 11. If you're looking at our strongest possible lineup, there are glaring gaps in terms of quality at centre mid, and there are glaring gaps. There's a gaping hole, literally a gaping hole up front.
You know, I don't think we're overreacting as well. I agree with Shabs. I think it's very clear that if everyone is fit, we'll probably finish in the top 6, and we might be close to the top 4. It depends on how United's second half of the season, Spurs second half of the season goes, but. Spurs are looking to strengthen. United have a lot of players anyway. They just need to find a system that works for them and pick up points essentially. So we are here with a team that's been okay in some parts and poor in some parts and then good in some parts. And we now need to stabilize those performances and really kick on. And to really make, top 4 the target, you need to sign players, because what we have right now, I don't think top 4 looks like the target. Just looks like we're gonna be around top 4, which where we are right now. But do you want to get top 4? If you do, you're signing a striker, and you're probably trying to get someone in centre mid as well as cover, because, as you said earlier, Shabs, Partey and Xhaka both are not reliable. Those man could be, and one of them could be injured again. I mean, Xhaka doesn't get injured often, but he gets red cards. Suspension could hit him again. Partey could be out.
Another red for Xhaka. He might be out for 5 games.
Boy,
which when you got 17 games left, that's a third of your games.
It's very possible.
It's a third of your games.
I think it depends on how I mean, if we want to make top 4, we have to sign. That's given us the best possible, and this is what Seun said, best possible sort of platform to spring off from. If we don't, we're just going to be thereabouts, and we have to get lucky essentially, and sort of hope that the others are not as good as we think they are, and etc. etc. It's not entirely in our hands, but a lot of it is in our hands.
Yeah. There were a lot of questions today, so we're not going to be able to get through them all. So this is going to be the last one that I am going to say, which is from Ash, which is AESCFOS, right? So he says, everyone is talking about Saliba replacing White. However, given Gabriel's tendency to give away silly fouls and be generally quite careless progressively with the ball, that could it be time for a Saliba-White partnership next season?
Do you know with this thing as well? Yeah, I don't really care about who is who. Like, I just want quality. Like the thing that's evident to me is that Arsenal just don't have enough quality in enough areas in the pitch. So really and truthfully, whether it's Gabriel, Saliba, White, whatever, Gabriel White, whatever. If you ask me, generally speaking, on the whole, I've actually been very, very happy with Gabriel and White this season. It looks a very, very solid partnership to me. So I don't really have much of a problem with that. However, if we do get Europe, if we push the boat out and we get Champions League, you need quality. City are rotating Diaz, Laporte, Stones all the time. Do you know what I mean? So listen, God forbid we see Holding for however many games next season. We're not trying to see that, right? Do you know what I mean? Look, even now, Tomiyasu's out. We're having to move Ben White to right back. I don't want to see that. I don't want to have to see that next season. Do you know what I mean? So really and truthfully, it shouldn't be an either or. And I think Leroy made this point once as well, that I just think, especially if we get back into Europe, we need to start looking at it as more of a squad game. Do you know what I mean? You're not going to be seeing regular starting 11s. I think now, because we're only playing once a week, that's cool. That's fine. But
when you move to every 3 days, you're not going to be repeating that same team every 3 days. You know what I mean? You're going to need to chop and change. You're going to need to have people who can come in here and there. So for me, it's mainly just about uplifting the quality of the squad generally. So I think it doesn't matter much in the grand scheme of things. Whoever's best at the time will play.
Mm. And I think just looking from our fixtures as well, I think it's going to be 4 games or 3 games in February, and then we'll have 14 matches to play over March, April, and May. So, you know, it's not looking like a congested schedule at all. And it looks like suspensions is probably going to be our biggest enemy. But, you know, Tapping Tobes has a question. I'm going to show it here. Are you not looking at any other strikers / midfielders now that Blah and Arthur are myths? And I'm just going to say, shut up, Toby. We're not going to answer your question here. You're an op. And he's just walked in. He's just walked in the door. That's like perfect timing for me to say that. Yeah, so that's wonderful. But Yemi, big Yems, thank you for joining us today.
Love, guys, man. Loved it.
Shared some really good points there, man. If you want to tell people what your at is as well, they can go follow you. But they're not. I'm not sure if they're going to get much football tweets. It might be some Rolexes. It might be some tables and that. You know what I'm saying?
Don't know about that. Don't know about that. That's slander right there, mate. I'm gonna sue you. Yeah, they'll see the rollie a few times. Yeah, exactly. That's fun, love, guys.
Dan, thank you very much for joining me. Thanks everyone for listening. As I said, leave a like on the video. Make sure you subscribe to Touchline Fracas on the YouTube. Follow us at TouchyGooners. We're interacting, we're doing spaces, we're doing lots of stuff on Twitter, so make sure you jump in. I'm sure there will be a deadline day spaces. I promise you that I'll be there.
Yeah, we need that.
I'll be there
Believe
on
me,
Monday.
I will be there,
holding down the floor and screaming at this Brazilian barbecue bastard if he does not bring us a striker. So, you know, make sure you look into that. But otherwise, peace out, guys, and we'll catch you next week.
Bless.